When Michelle Obama stood up and said, "Your policies are failing our kids," no one expected what Karoline Leavitt would do next. Two women, one stage, one question. Can they fix America's education system? Together? Before we dive in, don't forget to like, comment your thoughts, and subscribe for more real-life showdowns that turn into surprising partnerships. This one starts with fire and ends with a spark. It was a warm June afternoon in Chicago. The air inside the Downtown Education Summit buzzed with anticipation. The scent of fresh coffee lingered as educators, students, and policymakers filled every row. Standing at the podium in an elegant cream blazer, Michelle Obama, early 60s, composed, commanding, scanned the room with quiet intensity. "Ms. Leavitt," she began firmly, placing a thick report on the table. "Your policies claim to create opportunity, but our poorest students are falling behind faster than ever." A hush swept over the room. From the front row, a teacher whispered, "She's not wrong." Karoline Leavitt, late 20s, calm, sharp eyes, wearing a simple gray dress, stood at her station with both hands resting on a folder. Her voice was steady. "Mrs. Obama, our reforms are designed to open doors," she said, locking eyes with Michelle. Michelle stepped forward. "Open doors?" she echoed. "When schools are closing in underserved communities?" The tension tightened. Then Karoline's tone shifted, calm but direct. "Mrs. Obama, with your permission," she said, opening her folder slowly, "I'd like to show you a solution." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. One parent gripped the edge of their seat. Michelle hesitated. Karoline raised the document. And in that moment, this wasn't just policy talk. It was the beginning of something neither woman expected. Was this a clash of ideologies, or the first page of a revolution in learning? The room was silent, but the tension was electric. Karoline Leavitt stood steady, the folder in her hands now open. Light from the projector flickered across her face as she stepped forward. "Mrs. Obama," she began, her tone warm but confident, "I propose the creation of a National Education Equity Fund." A slide appeared behind her. Maps of underfunded schools, stats on broadband access, and bold numbers across the screen. "This fund will support schools in our most underserved areas," she continued, "and provide students with digital access, new materials, and consistent support, regardless of their zip code." Gasps. A few educators leaned in. One quietly said, "Wait, this is actually good." Michelle raised an eyebrow. Her tone softened, ever so slightly. How would it work? Karoline didn't hesitate. "Through a combination of federal allocations and public-private partnerships," she said, tapping another slide. "Verified transparency, community oversight, no red tape, just results." From the gallery, a young teacher whispered to a colleague. She came prepared. Michelle stepped closer to the screen. For the first time, her expression shifted, not resistance, but recognition. She studied the plan carefully. "This is more thought out than I expected." Then came the applause. One student stood, holding up a small tablet. "If this passes, I could finally study at home." Karoline smiled gently. Education is not a privilege. It's a right. But as Michelle lowered the document, one question danced behind her steady gaze. Had she underestimated this young leader, or discovered a partner she never saw coming? You could feel the shift. Michelle Obama stood in silence, her hands resting gently on the printed copy of Karoline's proposal. The screen behind them still glowed with the words, "National Education Equity Fund." She glanced at the audience. Teachers, students, parents, many of them standing now, eyes locked on her. "Ms. Leavitt," Michelle began, her voice lower than before. "You might be right." A ripple of emotion passed through the crowd. Karoline exhaled, calm but alert. "Thank you, Mrs. Obama," she said, softly closing her folder. "But we can't let this stay on paper." Michelle nodded slowly. "Then let's make it more than a plan." The room held its breath. "What do you propose?" she asked, her tone no longer critical, but curious. Karoline stepped forward. "We start a national movement," she said. "Not just funding, not just talk, a full-scale learning revolution, equal access, digital resources, teacher training, community ownership." The silence broke into applause, loud, real. From the back, a father shouted, My kid's school needs this. On social media, hashtags ignited. Learning revolution. Michelle and Karoline. Michelle turned to Karoline. I'm in, she said, smiling. Let's build something this country's never seen. Karoline nodded. Because when every child learns, we all rise. But behind the standing ovation, one truth pulsed quietly through every parent's heart. Could these two women actually fix what generations before them could not? 3 weeks later, the streets of Chicago looked different. Bright yellow banners waved from school fences and courthouse steps. On every corner, Learning Revolution. Public parks filled with parents holding signs, education, luxury. Every kid deserves a chance. In a buzzing downtown square, Karoline Leavitt took the stage in jeans and a soft blue blouse, a cup of coffee in hand. Her tone was direct. Mrs. Obama didn't have to listen, she said, but she did. And because of that, we're here. The crowd erupted in cheers. The kid waved a new tablet in the air. I can do my homework at home now. From the sidelines, Michelle Obama smiled, watching. Later that night, in a televised interview, she looked straight into the camera. Karoline's plan changed my mind, she said. And now it's changing lives. Video clips from the rally flooded social media. X exploded. Karoline and Michelle are reshaping education. A teacher posted, we finally feel heard. Karoline scrolled through messages on her phone backstage. I cried watching that live stream. My daughter wants to be a teacher now. This is the first time I've believed in politics. From a rooftop across the street, a college student snapped a photo and captioned it. This isn't just a policy, it's a movement. But behind every smile, behind every cheer, one question began to rise. Could this revolution survive politics, or would it need to outgrow it?
6 months later, classrooms across America didn't just feel different. They were different. From rural towns in Mississippi to crowded boroughs in New York, smart boards replaced chalk, free Wi-Fi reached library basements, and teachers had real tools, finally. At a national conference held inside a newly renovated Chicago high school, Karoline Leavitt, sleek ponytail, tablet in hand, stood beside Michelle Obama, simple navy blazer, eyes gleaming with pride. Karoline, Michelle said, looking over the audience, this is extraordinary. Karoline smiled, only because we kept moving together. The screen behind them displayed live metrics. Thousands of devices distributed, hundreds of new digital classrooms, test score gaps shrinking. Then, from the crowd, a voice called out. A young girl in a school uniform stood up, holding a paper diploma high above her head. Michelle, you're awesome, she shouted, her grin unstoppable. Laughter and applause filled the room. Michelle waved, her face softening. Karoline stepped forward. This isn't about one party or one person. This is what happens when we stop defending the past and start building the future. Media clips flooded X. The learning revolution is now. Michelle and Karoline lead the charge. Backstage, Michelle turned to her. It started as a disagreement, she said. Karoline nodded. And became the blueprint for what's possible. But above the noise, one truth began to resonate louder than anything else. What if the real revolution was realizing that no one has to lead alone? 1 year later, in a small elementary school on Chicago's South Side, a quiet classroom buzzed with the sound of children typing. On the wall hung a sign that read, "Every child, every chance." In the teacher's lounge, Michelle Obama, casual sweater, mug in hand, sat across from Karoline Leavitt, blazer off, sleeves rolled, a fresh education report between them. They said we couldn't do it, Michelle whispered, eyes scanning the page. Karoline smiled. But we didn't listen. Outside the window, a group of students chased each other across a playground that had once been condemned. Now, it was clean, funded, full of life. Media had dubbed it the Education Revolution, but neither of them liked that name. For them, it wasn't about noise. It was about normalizing fairness. Karoline slid a small gift across the table, a handcrafted sculpture shaped like an open book. On it, engraved in gold, "Learning belongs to everyone." Michelle traced the letters with her fingers. "You made this?" Karoline shook her head. We did."
On X, a quiet video clip went viral. No speech, no crowd. Just two women sitting in a school, smiling over coffee and data. A new generation saw it not as a moment, but as the beginning of their own story. Now it's your turn. What will you do to make learning equal, lasting, and free? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe if you believe education is a right, not a reward.